I saw your tweet right after the announcement yesterday, quote, nobody, and I mean nobody, had a sense Magic was going to do this today, end quote. So I know you've been working the last 12 hours on this story. What can you tell us? What happened?
I mean, he just quit on Jeannie Buss. He didn't talk to her, he couldn't face her, and I talked to several of his best friends in the world, and they didn't know he was about to do this. And, it feels like a fairly impulsive decision, and I guess there was, maybe half a day of thought on his part, but this was one of the most stunning things I've seen in my career. I walked across the street, Staples Center, and he was still talking an hour later, an hour and a half later. The game was starting. Everybody had to sort of play on. And I got to be honest, man, there's going to be a lot of, Monday morning quarterbacking about what really happened. And I actually think he told you exactly why he quit. And it's just still so hard to believe. But he quit because this job is hard. This job is something that you can't just charm your way through, something you can't just be Magic Johnson in. And the guy that I saw last night, that looked like Magic Johnson. He was great at a press conference. He was smiling. He was charming the pants off of everybody. He was trying to. But I haven't seen that guy for the last couple of years. He's in the shadows, and I think he lost his identity, and he didn't like that anymore. And one of the things that it really occurred to me is, having known Magic for most of my career here in Los Angeles, this is a man who stared death in the face in 1991 and said, "I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat the HIV virus," and he thus far has. And every day after that has been his life where he just said, "I'm only going to do things that I want to do." And he was not having fun at this. This was a hard job. He didn't want to do it anymore, and he just quit.
That may not make sense to a lot of people. It does to me, to be honest with you, Ramona. Now you are as connected within that organization as literally anyone. What were you hearing from people around the Lakers as soon as this happened?
I mean, I had 3 people call me crying. That's how serious this was. They didn't know. And they heard it the same way all of us heard it. And that's why I put that tweet out. But I had literally people called me crying. That's how serious this was for them. That's how sad this was for them. Then Jeannie Buss and Tim Harris, who's the president of business operations for the Lakers, a couple of her advisors, Rob Pelinka was there, went to El Segundo, where their team headquarters are. They spent several hours kind of trying to draft a statement, figure out what was going on, how you move forward. Hey, they have exit interviews starting at 8:45 local. Who's doing those exit interviews? Is it Rob Pelinka and Luke Walton? I mean, Luke Walton was told last night, he got a text from Rob Pelinka saying, "Show up, I'll see you there in the morning." And this is a man who thought he was getting fired in the morning, who the staff thought he was getting fired in the morning. Everybody expected that. I believe that he will be in those exit interviews now. And I don't know how much longer he will be the coach, but it seems like, at least for today, he is. It's still, everybody's just kind of processing in Lakerland. And I, immediately, because the business is what it is, I got, agents and other GMs texting, throwing their name into the hat for this kind of a job. But I really think this was so out of left field. This was so stunning that it's going to take a couple days for them to pick up the pieces and even take a breath before they move on to what's next.
Fair enough. And so just a quick final thought, Ramona, and maybe I'm putting you in a position to guess, but where do you think they go from here? What do you think happens next?
I think in the immediate aftermath of this, I think Rob Pelinka ascends into more of a role of power. He's an executive they trust and that they're working with pretty closely already. I think Luke Walton stays in this role for whoever knows how long. And there's a big leadership vacuum right now, and somebody will step into it. One of the names you should watch is Tim Harris, who I mentioned before. He's the president of business operations. He's a guy that is behind the scenes, but he is very, very important to what the Lakers do, and people don't know his name, but I think he'll be in a position of power. I know there's the betting odds on Kobe. That's one name I really don't see at all. He's in the Muse cage, right? He's got his whole life, and he's building his whole media empire. He didn't want the job before. It's not something that he would do. I think he would help Jeannie, but as she figures her way through this. But I don't see that at all. The question is, do they bring in somebody alongside Rob Pelinka or above Rob Pelinka? But I think for now, he ascends in power.